شفاعتهم في الدنيا والآخرة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أساسا يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم للتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبا، ولعن الله ابن مرجان، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وأنجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي، لقد عظم مصابي بك، فسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم فاسألوا الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقام هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة وبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين عليه السلام وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم هم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم الرزية. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوات. Brothers and sisters, before we begin, it would kindly requested that all of you guys scoot up a little more because there's been an issue with like sound and space. So if you guys could please move up all the way to the front rows here, that'd be extremely great. That being said, please recite aloud salawat.
Dear brothers and sisters, Jamian, Salamun Alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. فقد قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون. Recite a second salawat. Before I start, I see everybody sort of scattered, around. I think if you look at, if you want to make like a boutique of flowers, you make them all packed and you put them next to each other, very nice and neat, right? So inshallah, by reciting the third salawat, everybody can come closer and get, closer to each other. Don't be shy, right? So recite the third salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For the previous nights, we've been talking about trying to understand the logic behind the movement of Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam during the Muharram and the day of Ashura. And as I mentioned, we've been trying to understand the logic behind it as much as we can. Hopefully that, if Imam Hussein himself looks down, on us and then give us the blessing to actually understand his logic a little bit better and actually get closer to him by understanding the way he thinks and applying it to our daily lives. Does that sound good? Yeah? Recite under salawat. So we talked about the relationship between action, thoughts, feelings, and purpose for every person, right? We mentioned that, just because we live so far away from the time of Imam Hussein, it doesn't mean we have no way to actually understand or get closer to our Imam. Rather, we can focus on his actions, his words, his sermons, and all of his teachings. And if you put all of those together, we can sort of get an understanding of how Imam Hussein ﷺ sees the world. By understanding that, we can actually, because we call ourselves followers of the Ahlul Bayt, we can apply that to our daily lives and get closer and closer, inshallah, to Imam Hussein ﷺ and other Imams as well. Then we talked about one of the things that we said Imam Hussein ﷺ used to, or actually liked a lot. He actually used the word hub, which, equivalent in English is love, right? We said at the night before Ashura, when he asked for one more night from the army of Umar Assad, he told them that, I'd like to spend this night praying, reciting the Quran, and doing my salat. And then he says, فَإِنِّي أُحِبُّ الصَّلَاةِ. I love salat. I love doing my prayers, right? So, and then also we mentioned that in another hadith, he told us that إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَا خَلَقَ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا لِيَعْرِفُوا فَإِذَا عَرَفُوهُ عَبَدُوهُ. Meaning he actually gave us the purpose that we have been created for. So if you want to be a follower of Imam Hussein, we take this purpose, we make it our personal purpose, and we try to achieve it within our limited timeline. Which means that Allah Almighty did not create the creation only and except only for getting to know, getting to recognize, getting to understand, getting closer to Allah Almighty. فَإِذَا عَرَفُوهُ abadu. So the minute or the more we get closer to Allah, the more actually we get to recognize Allah, the more we get to understand that His existence in our life will automatically start to worship Him. So worshiping one part, liking the salat the second part, right? Tonight I'm going to continue perhaps sharing some more insights about this act of salat, inshallah. The ayahs that I recited at the beginning of the majlis from Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayahs 1 through 3, which actually at the beginning of this surah talks about the characteristics of the faithful. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qad aflaha al-mu'minun. Right at the beginning, right? Allah Almighty tells us about what? The faithful. And He tells us about that they will be prosperous, right? So when we take a look at the commentary of the Quran, what's the meaning of falah, right? We say that aflahal mu'minun. What's the meaning of this word falah? When we look at the mufradat of Raghib, right? This is a book that has every single word of the Quran one by one, and then he translates it, with all like different meanings that it could possibly have. He says falah means cutting through, breaking through. For example, if you have a wall, you break through and then you reach your goal behind the wall. This process of breaking through is called falah. And he actually gives an example. He says, metal, right? It can only be broken by another metal. So if you have a piece of, for example, something that's made out of metal, and then you want to break it, you want to bend it, you want to make it to two pieces, you have to use another piece of metal in order to cut it into two pieces, just to make sure that you understand the meaning of falah. Now, when the word falah becomes falah, it's been used as an infinitive form, right? What's the difference in meaning? Then it actually has the meaning that we probably all are familiar with, which means victory, which means, for example, gaining what you've been looking after, which means actually receiving what you've been searching for a long time, right? So when you reach that goal that you have set in your life, in that stage, it's called falah. Or in English, they say prosperity. Now, when we talk about reaching the goal, of course, we can always divide it to two groups. Some goals, some intentions, some objectives will refer back or link back to the material, to the dunya, versus some others will be actually refer back to the spiritual world, right? For example, in the dunya, what are the people after for? Everybody probably knows the answers, right? They want for the best of everything. If you want to make it simple. But what does it mean, the best of everything? Once they try to buy something, they tend to look for something that will last for a long time. It will not change, right? It will not just break in one day, right? Number two, as they want to buy something, they like to have power of more options on whatever they're trying to buy or whatever they're trying to get. This one is only for the material purposes as we speak. But we have the second group, the second category, which talks about the spiritual purposes that we can have, right? So what are the gains that we can have if you want to focus on the spiritual realm? We don't want to focus on the material realm, right? They say there are four groups or four criterions that people look for when they're setting up the purposes on the spiritual matters. Number one, they look for something that has existence without getting mixed with annihilation. They want something, again, that exists for an infinite time. They don't want something that will be for a short time. If it's for a temporary time, it will be the dunya. Number two, they look for sustenance, food, drinks, like consumptions, right? That's not mixed with poverty. Meaning we always have them. As the minute we wish for, it will be right at our presence. Number three, a dignity which will not be mixed with abjection. We always have that dignity and honor. And number four, they're looking for a knowledge, which this knowledge is not being mixed or is being attached with ignorance. Talking about the absolute of knowledge, the absolute of bounties, the absolute of, for example, existence. These are the type of purposes that we say we can set up when we focus on the spiritual realm. So when we call falah as prosperity, what do we mean? He continues, he says, when we say falah, put the two meanings together. Mean you break through all the obstacles in order to find your objective. Now, obstacles could be physical, could be spiritual. Your purpose could be physical and spiritual, right? But when we come to the topic of, for example, the teachings of Islam, then we have a set, or we have like very, very clear purpose of which one of these are we going to follow. If you do if you multiply them by together, you're going to get 4 different cases, right? You either have the obstacles which are physical for a purpose which is physical, or you have an obstacle which is physical for a purpose that is spiritual, right? Or you have 2 other conditions. You have obstacles which are spiritual for a physical matter. You have spiritual obstacles for a spiritual outcome, right? 4 different cases. So which one of these 4 are we? Which one of these 4 are the faithful will actually fall under that Allah tells us that أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ? The faithful will be prosperous. Now, before I start talking about those purposes, I would like to share some, again, information about Iman. When we say mu'min, when we say mu'minun, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, what does this word Iman mean, right? Having faith. What does it mean? Is it just, for example, saying, أَشْهَدُ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأشهد أن عليا ولي الله? Is this like equal to faith, or there has to be something more to it? We all know the ayah that says يا أيها الذين آمنوا آمنوا, right? How come Allah uses 2 verbs right after each other? He tells us that those, you guys that you have decided to become faithful, become faithful again. Why is Allah is telling us that, right? So here, actually, Allama Tabatabai uses this very interesting discussion about the Iman, about the faith. That the faith, as we speak about, it's not only a matter of words, right? It has to have some sort of action along with the words. Then he gives like this, he sort of like tells us that, if you look around you, every person that you can see, right, he sort of has a faith in something. What is that faith? He relates it back to a religion, right? And then the minute we say religion, well, the first thing comes up to our mind is, okay, we have 3 major religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right? But Allah Ta'ala actually mentions a broader sense of definition for religion. It says, no, the religion, if you want to actually take a look at like in a deeper look, it's the cultural norm of every society. Then he explains. He says, take a look at every society around us, right? You see these trends, you see these norms, you see this culture that's, it's actually stable at that society, right? That culture, which actually shows how people will behave, it's the religion of that society. Now, how is this culture based off, right? We say now here's when there will be a difference between society. In one society, they might believe in God, right? They might believe that there is a hereafter. They might believe in the resurrection. They might believe that we as a human, once we become to this world, we will live for eternity, right? This group will base everything, base their entire culture based on what? To get the most outcome in the hereafter. Because they believe in eternal existence after this world, right? This is society number 1. You put it aside. Society number 2. He says the society number 2, they also believe in God, right? But they believe in a specific God. They say if God is happy, we will get all the bounties. If God is angry at us, He will punish us. So if society is like this, if they believe in a God that, He actually does everything based on His own preferences, then what would they do? They will behave, they will act in a way that they try to please God, the God that they have defined, so that they reach prosperity in this world. And of course, we have a third group, which they say God doesn't exist. We don't believe in God, right? We don't believe in hereafter. We don't believe in any of the angels, any of the resurrection, the hell, and the heaven. None of those exist. So how do they behave? They say, I only see myself. I only see the material world. I only see the mundane world. And this is how we're going to base off our actions. So when you look at their culture, you can see everything, all the trends that they have, all the cultural values and norms that they have. When you backtrack them, it goes back to self. It goes back to self-interest. It goes back to gaining more and more status for an individual, right? They don't care about everybody else. They only care about themselves. Meaning they want to get to where they want at any given cost. The more, the better. Recite salawat. Now, we have another word here. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. So we said the faithful will be prosperous, right? Then Allah says, He actually describes them for us. He says, الَّذِينَ, those هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ, those who are humble and modest as they do their salat, as they do their prayer. Now, what's this word of khashia' or khashi'un mean in English? Again, when we look back at the commentaries, they say this khashia', this khushu', right? It's a stage of feeling in which person feels humble. What do I mean by humble? Meaning that he finds himself at the presence of a greater power. Now, this greater power could be a person, like for example, a very powerful king, right? It could be something spiritual, for example, God, right? So when the person actually finds himself at the presence of a greater power, and this greater power is so great, and so huge, that this person forgets about everything else except the power that he's at the presence of, right? That stage is called khushu'. So meaning, when Allah is trying to give us the criterion for the faithful, He tells us the faithful, when he stands up to do the prayer, right, he finds himself at the presence of this power, of this ultimate power, right, the power that has created everything, and then he gets so dissolved in it that he forgets about everything else. So when he says Allahu Akbar, he doesn't think about his school. When he says Allahu Akbar, he doesn't think about his car, his payments, his mortgage, right? His retirement plan. No. All of those goes aside when he says Allahu Akbar. He only focuses and pays all the attention on Allah the Almighty. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. So 2 criterions inshallah for tonight, and if Allah blesses us, maybe perhaps we can continue this more and then we can get to know the criterions of the faithful, and then, as I said, try to apply them to our daily lives. And inshallah, if everybody does that, then do pray for everybody else as well. So what's the, before I go to the next criterion, I'll give you one hadith if you recite a salawat. There is this hadith that actually tells us the story of a person that was, he had gone to the Masjid al-Nabi, right? And he starts praying. The minute he says Allahu Akbar, he starts playing around with his beard, right? And Holy Prophet comes to the mosque and he sees him. Then Holy Prophet turns around and says, if this person had khushu', he wouldn't have been doing, he wouldn't have been playing with his beard as he was praying. Then here, he actually explains it. It says the khushu' that we talked about, the stage of being humble, right? If we are true about this stage, it actually will have influence on all of our body. Meaning, if you really have these characteristics of being khashi'ah, being humble, your entire body will become humble. So when you stand up for prayer, you won't be playing with your, skin, your beard. You won't be for example, looking around, right? Your entire body will be at the stage of stillness and calmness, right? Facing the Qibla. This is the criterion of the faithful. Or Allah says, وَخَشَعَتَ الْأَصْوَاتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ. He actually uses the word khushu for the sounds. Meaning some of the sounds that we see outside, some of the voices that we see outside, they can actually be humble as well. Do we have any other meanings for khushu? There are 4 different meanings. One is fear. Fear and stillness of body out of fear. If you're scared of something so much that you just, freeze for a second, that stage, some people have said that's the stage that we call it khushu'. Others have said is when you actually close your eyes, right? And then you stand respectfully and humbly. Like as you're trying to respect an elder person, you just stand there and you respect them. Others have said khushu' means just putting your head down and looking down. And the last one, they says no. It means not to look to your left, not to look to your right, right? Not to look above and behind you, but rather have your focus and attention on one specific subject. So, out of all these 4, which one is the true meaning of khushu'? Then Allah Ta'ala starts talking about it, that As I mentioned, I think briefly, khushu is that stage that you focus on one thing, and by focusing on that one thing, you forget about everything else. Remember yesterday we were talking about that if the prayer is good, it will actually prevent us from doing bad and doing evil, right? As-salatu tanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar. So here's the criteria for that good prayer. There has to be a good focus. There has to be a good attention. There has to be a good, for example, a complete attention when we are praying. Now, the next ayah, the second criterion, he talks about this word meaning ilam, right? It says the faithful, they maintain their prayers, they're humble as they pray, and they stay away from love, right? What's the meaning of this love? Again, it means a useless activity. Now, when we say useless activity, it comes in comparison. Comparison to what, right? For example, we might be doing something that others might see it as a useless activity, but it might be actually good for us, right? It depends on what are we comparing this activity to. But generally speaking, this is how we actually define it with, if you want to apply the religion to it, it's like all the actions we do, every single choices that we make, it could have two different outcomes. Either will be linked directly to a spiritual benefit or indirectly. Directly is, for example, when the outcome is actually like a spiritual gain. For example, when you do salat, right, or when you do fasting, when you do your khums, when you do your zakat, right. These are directly linked with your spiritual gain. What is indirectly is, for example, when you go out, you work hard, you earn money, and then you use that money in the right and proper channel. For example, you take care of your family. For example, you take care of those who are in need. For example, you help a youth to get married. For example, help the masjid to get built, right? For example, you put that money in the right place. So all of these are indirect. The money itself is not the spiritual gain, but it can be used as a means to gain spiritual rewards, inshallah. In other words, if you want to make a summary of all these actions, we can say the mustahabbat and wajibat. All the stuff that Allah has told you, these are mandatory, these are obligatory for you, right? And all the stuff that He has recommended for us. If you take a look at those, and if you take a look at the philosophy behind them, we can see the wajibats are usually the stuff that, it connects us directly to a spiritual gain. And mustahabbat are either going to connect us to the wajibat, which means again spiritual gain, or then themselves can be used as a mean to get us connected to the spiritual realm, right? So everything else, the makruh, the haram, the mubah, all of them becomes part of love, right? A useless activity. Then what has Allah said? He says, إِن تَجْتَنِبُوا كَبَائِرَ مَا تُنْهَوْنَ عَنْهُ نُكَفِّرْ عَنْكُمْ سَيِّئَاتِكُمْ وَنُدْخِلْكُمْ مُدْخَلًا كَرِيمًا. It becomes a little bit difficult talking about giving up all the harams, giving up all the makruhs, and giving up all the mubahs, right? So Allah, He actually knows this. That's why He tells us that the faithful person, he's the one who tries to stay away from such activity, right? But even He knows that we may make a mistake. We may, commit an error, right? So that's why He tells us in another ayah that if you stay away from the greater sins, He will forgive all of our smaller or minor sins. And He will get us to the heaven, inshallah. Recite another salawat. Now, another interesting point here is just by staying away from greater sins, we are actually doing a good deed. What do I mean? It's like saying no to sin, saying no to mistakes itself has a great value, let alone if you do something good instead, right? So if you just say no, for example, to drinking, if you just say no to lying, if you just say no to making fun at your friend, if you just say no to backbiting, right? Itself, it has rewards for you, right? Because it actually builds up your spiritual gain. Now, if you use the same time, because you're spending your time, for example, trying to prevent doing something like an evil act, right? Now, if you spend that time doing something good instead, that will have the double rewards, right? So that's actually how you have to be smart about how to spend your time, how to spend your life. as we can talk about it, which shows when we talk about faithful people, they have very strong will. Not only strong will, they are very knowledgeable and they are wise and they are sage in a sense, meaning they always look at the long run. At any given circumstances, they always try to find the best way that will give them the most rewards in the hereafter. So inshallah, we all will be part of those as well. Now, talking about salat, right? How come we all do our prayers, but the same questions that I mentioned yesterday? Number one, it doesn't prevent us from committing evil, right? And number two, we don't find this sort of attachment to the salat as our leaders, our imams, used to have. For example, Amir al-Mu'mineen used to pray. As I said, they used to take an arrow out of his leg. No, he wouldn't notice it. Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu wassalam, he was praying in his room, and then his son actually falls down from the roof and he breaks his arm. So everybody's shouting in the house, trying to get a medic to come and tie up the arm, and then they don't see anything from Imam Sajjad. They can't even find him. The next day, Imam Sajjad is coming out. He sees his son coming with a tied up arm, and then he asks him, "What happened to you?" Right? And he was in the house. Or another story, again, Imam Sajjad, he's in sujood, right? And he's saying his zikr. The house actually catches on fire. So again, everybody's shouting, saying, "Fire, fire, oh Rasulullah, oh Yabna Rasulullah, there is a fire in the house." But they see that Imam Sajjad doesn't move. He still contains his sujood, right? So they get some help, they put out the fire, and then they ask him, "What happened? We were shouting, there's a fire in the house, how come you didn't, break your sujood?" He said, "I was so, concentrated, I was so focused on the hell of the hereafter that I totally forgot about the hell in this world." So how come our prayer is so different? Our imams pray, we pray, right? They face the Qibla, we face the Qibla. They do, for example, all the mustahabats and wajibats, and we do the same thing. But how come our prayer is not the same? I'll give you one more example. If you recite al salawat. This one actually Ibn Abbas narrates. He said, I was along Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, and we were at the Battle of Siffin. We were right in the battle. We were fighting left and right, and I noticed that Amir al-Mu'mineen keeps on looking at the sky. So I got closer to him while we were fighting the enemy, and I asked him, "Oh Ali, why do you keep on looking at the sky for? While you're fighting?" He said, "I'm looking to spot out the sun to see whether it's the time for the noon prayer or not." So Ibn Abbas says, I asked him, "Oh Mawla, oh Ali, we're right at the middle of the war, and then you're looking at the sun to see if it's time for, praying. Are you really going to pray at the middle of all of this?" Then Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam turns around and says, "Of course. Why do you think we are actually fighting them, right? We're fighting them to inform them of this connection. And then if you do not do the same thing, that's just going to, erase the whole thing. So why are we fighting? We can just, sign a peace treaty and then go our own, everybody can go their own ways, right? The reason we're fighting them is because they do not do their prayers. The reason we are fighting them because they do not believe in God being the creator of the creation, right? So what's the problem? Allah Almighty says, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. Meaning that a lot of people, majority, the mass, right? They know, again, the zahir of this dunya, the appearance, the look, what comes within the first impression of the dunya. They only know this one. They've been only that's all they think of. How to look in society, what kind of status they should go after, what kind of education should they go after. Not that these are bad, no. It becomes bad when it becomes your ultimate goal, right? It becomes bad when all you think about is to become, for example, popular. That's when it becomes a problem. But if you want to become popular, then, for example, to preach Islam, right? Then it becomes a good thing. As I said, you use it as a means to do something better. If you study hard and hard and hard just to get A's, there is a problem. But if you study hard and hard to get A's, not only get A's, but become a very expert and professional person, and then come back and help the society, help the Muslims, help the non-Muslims, then it becomes good, right? Likewise, if you just want to make that money, you want to make as much as possible. constantly thinking about different ways of investment, different ways of earning more and more and more, just to have a bigger, bank account, a larger bank account, have higher interest, that's a sign that, we're having a problem. But when you look at that as the mean to gain other, as I said, an infinite rewards for yourself, then of course that becomes logical and that becomes very good. So the problem we all have, speaker included, we tend to focus on the surface and we forget about what's behind the surface. So what does salat does for us? It helps us to focus and concentrate on what's behind the scene, on the unseen world, and little by little, gradually, we'll get to a point that we actually start having those very high concentration and focus as we do our salah. But this is a gradual process, which means we have to practice. Just like having a diet, just like exercising. The first couple of months of exercising, the first couple of days, couple of weeks might be hard, right? Because we're just starting something new. But then little by little, by planning, by setting all this stuff right, little by little we get a hand of it, and then we get better at it, of course, and then we will develop even more. Same thing goes for doing our salat and doing our prayers. Or Allah gives us another characteristic. He says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ خُلِقَ هَلُوعًا. He says, insan, the humanity, the mankind, he's been created in a stage of halu'a. What's the meaning of halu'a? Halu'a meaning very, very, very greedy to the extreme point. Like very needy to the extreme point. Someone who wants everything so bad. This is the nature of human. Meaning that all of us have this sort of a nature within us. Right? Whatever we see, we want it. And we want it so bad. Right? And then when we are given some good stuff, we don't want to give it away. We want to keep it. This is our nature. This is the nature that we've been created based on. When something bad happens to us, we start crying. We start looking like, why me, God, out of all these people, why it has to be me? When something good happens to us, all of it for myself. I don't know you. I don't know any of the brothers, right? All of it for me. Oh, you don't even thank God. Some people do, but a lot of people, they don't even thank God. They say, oh, I work for it, right? I studied hard for it, right? I had to pull some, I had to pull some strings to actually get this job, for example, right? So this is the nature of mankind. Then Allah says, إِلَّا الْمُسَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. So if we do not do anything, if we do not touch ourselves, meaning like if we do not work on our nature will be in this stage of being greedy about everything it sees, right? But if you bring in the process of salat, if we start maintaining our salat, then is Allah. He has excluded us from this general rule, إِلَّا الْمُسَلِّينَ. So everybody's like this except those who actually maintain their prayer. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. And not only they maintain it, they're consistent about it. They continue to keep it up, right? And as I said, the 5-day prayer is just a very basic limit. There is a hadith that actually how we pray only 5 times a day. It's a long hadith. I'm just going to give you a short version of it. Basically, Holy Prophet, when he goes to Mi'raj, he goes to a stage that he sees all the previous prophets, right? So he's going from prophet to prophet, for example, Adam to Prophet Abraham to Prophet Moses to Jesus, right? And then as he's passing, every single one of these prophets, they ask him, what has Allah given to your nation, meaning to the Muslims, as obligation, as duty, as responsibility? So when he goes to the first prophet, he says 50 prayers per day. Not 5 times, but 50 times. He tells him, go to Allah and ask him for a discount. He goes to Allah, Allah makes it 40 prayers. He goes to the next prophet, the same question is asked. Holy Prophet says, 40 prayers per day. The second prophet tells him, go to Allah and ask for more discount. He goes to Allah, Allah gives him a discount. And this process continues, till the last prophet, he asks him, so how many prayers do you have? He says, we have 5 days. And then the Prophet tells them, your nations, they're not able to, actually tolerate this. So go back to Allah and ask him for more discount, right? But here, Holy Prophet says, I'm ashamed to go back and again ask for more discount on 5 times daily prayers. Recite the salawat. Now, if you want to make like a practical way of getting better at our salat. What are some of the methods we can use to work on it and little by little get better at doing our prayers? Imam Salih alayhi salatu wasalam says, إذا استقبلت القبلة فانست الدنيا وما فيها والخلق وما هم فيه. One simple sentence. When you stand up for doing your salat, just put everything and whatever it's in the world and in your dreams, in your wishes, put everything aside. Now this part we have to practice. How can we focus on putting everything aside, not thinking about having our head, right? Because like the minute we wake up in the morning, fear starts. What am I going to do today? What have I done? What appointments, what homework am I supposed to do? What tests do I have, right? Who should I meet? All these different thoughts. They're not necessarily bad thoughts, right? But they keep us busy. And we say the more we have of these thoughts, the more our spirit, our soul, our ruh becomes tired. And what is that, the break time for the ruh, for the spirit? Is standing up and doing your salah. As I said, it is as if like you're recharging your battery. You're charging your phone, your cell phone. Your cell phone, if you use it a lot, what's going to go out of battery, right? If it doesn't break completely, right? If you overuse it, it's going to lose its charge very quickly. So you have to recharge it back again. The same thing goes for our soul. It needs a break from all these material matters that we'll be dealing with every day, and that's for everybody. Everybody deals with it. There is no, it's no brainer, right? So we need those breaks. That's why it's better, for example, to times, meaning throughout the days. Give yourself more time. Give your soul more time, right? Find that peace. Find that inner peace for yourself, and try to carry that with you throughout the day, right? And this is when they say, if you want to be stronger in your prayer, you have to be stronger in your muraqabah. What was muraqabah? Kind of having a self-control, right? Self-reflection, if you want to call it. Meaning that throughout the day, you have to watch what you say, you have to watch actually what you look at, you have to watch what you hear, right? You have to watch where you're going. Sort of have this self-reflection in a sense. And the stronger you become in this topic of muraqabah, you'll see the results and outcomes when you stand up for doing the prayer. What's the process of muraqabah? They say in the morning when you wake up, put a condition for yourself. Say, for example, today I'm not going to do such and such. Or vice versa, I am going to do such and such, right? Put a specific condition. Today I'm not going to lie, for example. And then for the rest of the day, have this, idea, have these conditions that you have set in your mind. Always, repeat to yourself that today I'm not going to lie, today I'm not going to lie. Every, case or situation that comes up, you just tell yourself, remind yourself that, hey, I made a pact, I'm not going to lie today, right? Keep it up for the entire day. At the end of the day, before you want to go to sleep, now have a review of your day. See if you were loyal to your, promise or disloyal. If you were loyal, praise Allah, say Alhamdulillah. If you were disloyal, if you have gone against whatever you have promised, then sort of punish yourself. Doesn't mean physically, right? A lot of times they say punish yourself by doing something that you do not like. Some people might not like doing laundry, right? Some people may not like cleaning up their room. I don't know. Some people may not like studying. So whatever act that you do not like, use that as a punishment for yourself. Some people, for example, they fast. Some people, they recite the Quran. They say if you look at the haram, right? Then, for example, you look at the haram for like an hour in one day, spend 1 hour reciting the Quran. If you don't know how to recite the Quran, just open up the Quran and look at the pages of the Quran. That will clear it up, right? If you, for example, or if you can fast. If you can, no, pay money for sadaqah. If not, as I said, go help your parents. And that's the best thing you can do, help your parents, right? We have so many ahadith, and actually one of the great scholars of Islam, he was saying in the hereafter, the one thing, one of the bounties that we all know about, regrets of not having that benefit in the hereafter, going up to your parents and kissing their hands, right? We have this being mentioned like directly in the hadith that it is it's highly recommended for the children, for the kids to go up to their parents And as a sign of appreciation and as a sign of respect, kiss the hands of their mother and father. Right? This is something that we all know, but nobody does it. And this great scholar, he was saying in the hereafter, that's one of those, very unique rewards that everybody will start regretting. Something so simple with such high rewards, and yet we haven't done it. So this is perhaps my advice to all of us. If your parents are still here, if you still have access to them, tonight as you go home, make sure you go to them, you actually respect them, you give them the respect that they deserve, and kiss their hands. It's not that hard, it's not that hard. Recite the salawat. Now, is there anything else that we can do to make our prayer even better? Yes. We talked about the wajibat and mustahabbat. So what are the wajibats? As we said, it's the base, like the very minimum that you can do to get, for example, your prayer accepted. But if you want to accomplish more, if you want to gain more out of it, we have to go and look at the mustahabbat of praying. There are some simple acts. I listed maybe about 7 or 8. For example, in your house, have a designated place for your praying time. So every time you pray, when you're in house, right, pray in the same spot. Don't change it constantly, especially for the nawafil. Try to have a specific designated place for your prayers, which will be away from, again, all the materialistic stuff. For example, in front of you, there shouldn't be any picture. There shouldn't be, for example, statue, like very simple, corner in your house. Number 2, when it comes to time of prayer, don't haste for it. Don't rush for it. Don't say, oh, it's the time of prayer. Let's do it quickly, 1 minute, and then we're out. Right? No, take your time. Take your steps slowly. Number 3, before you start your prayer, sit down at your sajjada. Right? Sit down and think for maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute of what you're about to do. We all have heard of the hadith that, again, Imam Sajjad alayhi when he used to get ready for doing a prayer, he would start shivering and shaking like the branches of the tree in the wind. That's how he would actually shake. So people would ask him, why are you are you afraid of something? Are you scared of something? You're the Imam. He says, no. Do you know who am I about to face? Right? So if we get ourselves in the mentality of understanding what are we about to do, at whose presence we are about to stand up, we will get better little by little. It's always between hope and fear, right? It's not all hope, it's not all fear, it's always somewhere in the middle. Number 4, don't pray with the full stomach. If you just had that burger, I don't know, do they have halal Burger King here? That halal McDonald's butter, right? Don't just go right after eating, go and do your prayers. Of course, use the sajjada. I mean, using the sajjada, we've been told that to use a simple sajjada, like in white color, very simple, no designs. Make everything simple. Use the aqiq, right? Everybody, I think all the Muslims, they have it. Use perfume oils. Brush your teeth. You can actually put amama. One of the very mustahab, one of the highly recommended action for doing a salat is wearing amama when you do your salat. And you don't have to be an alim, for example. Not that I'm not even muballigh. But typically speaking, every single Muslim is able to put an amama on, especially for the salat. It's highly recommended. The clothes you wear, it's better to be white colors. And of course, when you want to do salat, make sure that there are no distractions going on. For example, put your cell phone somewhere else, right? Don't put it next to you that's going to ring, it's going to vibrate, it's going to take all of your attention away. Another thing that is one of those good points that we can actually do in our homes and in our houses is reciting the adhan and iqamah, especially for the morning prayer and the maghrib prayer. And it's been highly recommended to recite loud. Can get in the habit of in the morning when we wake up, as we pray sajjada, as we're standing by our sajjada, the azan loud, and then we can perhaps go and wake up the rest of the family as well, right? Because we know staying away in the between the time of the morning prayer and the time that actually sun comes out, it's the best time to stay awake. It's the best time to do your prayers. It's the best time to respond. It's actually the best time if you want to, do all the studying and all the planning for your day, right? That's what we say, it's a very blissful time to stay awake, which usually we all like to sleep in that time. It's the best time to sleep as well, right? So we always have to make this struggle between, oh, I want to sleep in today, or should I want to get up early and stay awake? Two more. One, reciting the nawafil. How many nafilas do we have? Anybody knows? We have 17 rak'ah of the wajibat, right? The 5 daily prayers, if you add them up, become 17, right? Inshallah. So how many nawafil do we have? 24? 34, right? So total of 51 rak'ah. Out of these nawafil, Ayatollah Ghazi, right? Those who have been to Najaf, they know that a lot of people, once they go to the Ziyarah Amir al-Mu'mineen, they go to, what's the cemetery called? Recite Salawat. They go to the Haram, they go to Wadi al-Salam, right? Wadi al-Salam is a cemetery, which is, I think, the largest cemetery that you can find, right? And there is actually a grave of Ayatollah Ghazi, who was one of the greatest scholars of Islam. So he used to give this recommendation to everybody. He said, like, if you want the dunya or if you want the akhirah, doesn't matter. If you want to be successful in this dunya or if you want to be successful in the akhirah, do your salatul layl, right? Do your nocturnal prayer. Do your, what they call it, late-night prayer. Salatul layl. Now salatul layl is pretty easy too. It's 11 rak'ahs. If you cannot do all of it, do the last 3. Even if you cannot, the 1 rak'ah is going to take.